Hello and welcome back everyone, I am the Otaku, and I listened to your votes once again, so here it is, how to not suck at Heroes vs Villains. Heroes vs Villains is a small-scale game mode with a focus on hero and infantry gameplay. The game mode is designed to have short but intense clashes between light and dark, where heroes and villains fight each other in a head-on battle till the last one standing wins or time runs out. So to start things off, let's talk about the general objective of the game mode and then stick around because I'm going to be giving you the best strategies on how to take down the Empire or crush the rebel scum. Heroes vs Villains matches are divided into 3-minute rounds, where 3 players from each team will randomly spawn as a hero or villain at the start of the match. The rest of the players then spawn as infantry, making it a total of 6 vs 6. The objective of the game mode is to duke it out with the opposing team and kill them before they can kill you. The team to lose all of its leaders first will lose the round, or as the time draws towards an end, the team with the most remaining leaders will win. The first team to reach a total of 5 wins the entire match. So with that in mind, there are 2 strategies to effectively win the game. The first is to play aggressively and attack the opposing team in an attempt to kill them all. The second strategy is to play defensively and outlast the other team, either by attacking from a distance or luring enemies into bad positioning, then ganging up and quickly taking them out. However, it's not always quite that simple. Heroes vs Villains can be a mess when you first get into it, as you are fighting in close quarters with some of the toughest characters from the Star Wars universe. It can be both confusing and difficult to make sense of how to play as them, how to play against them, as well as what strategies to use as a team. Many duels are often decided by rock, paper, lightsaber and heavily rely on solid techniques to win. Infantry gameplay can often feel like being a sheep waiting to be slaughtered. So overall, the best thing you can do to do well in this game mode is educate yourself on each character's abilities, play as a team effort, and bring your strongest weapons. So let's go ahead and get started. Heroes vs Villains uses these smaller versions of each map, and some are very close quarters combat oriented, while others like the new Hoth map are primarily wide open. However, regardless of the overall map design, there are always areas that cater to each side, and it's very important that you recognize this and where they are, so you can properly position yourself in a way that plays to your team's strength and equip the right loadout to be the most effective. So take the time to learn the layout of each map, and then with my help, you should be able to figure out what areas are best for your team. Failure to do so will often result in an unnecessary loss or just not doing as well as you could have. Heroes almost always do better on big maps and open areas. This is because Princess Leia is able to create a defensive positioning in any wide open space with her squad shield, and also because both Leia and Han Solo are equipped with blasters that can easily attack from long distances. While their melee ranged companion Luke Skywalker is also able to cover long distances in a split second thanks to his extremely fast mobility. Altogether, they make the ultimate ranged powerhouse, able to engage enemies at any distance and come out on top. Due to this synergy between their team and their abilities, the heroes are much better at playing aggressively, pushing forward, and setting up defensive positions just outside of enemy range. If done correctly, it will make it very awkward and difficult for the villains to attack without leaving themselves exposed. Some great examples of places to engage with the enemy are on the side cliffs of the Gozan Badlands, the top cliffs from the Raider camp, and then the right side hill on the new Hoth map. All of these spots will give your team the advantage by playing to your strengths. It forces the enemy to be vulnerable as they come out to approach you, but it also offers you plenty of room to escape or reposition as needed. Everyone on your team should be inside that squad shield and using that as the home base, peeking in and out of cover to attack. Leia should be dropping the health for her team and maintaining that shield up at all times. Luke should focus on sneaking around and trying to 1v1 other heroes or staying close to the team to defend against people that rush towards your shield. Leia and Solo can also provide great range support to Luke, and Leia in particular is very helpful for stunning and making it easier for Luke to get heavy strikes in. If Luke is simply not around or he's a bad player and he ran off by himself and died, then Leia can even use her stun to give Han Solo the opportunity to get up close and freely attack with his rapid fire, where he's going to do the most damage. As you can probably tell, a lot of this revolves around Leia. She is extremely central to the team's success and works great in combination with the other heroes. On the other side of the spectrum, the villains are best off in close quarters combat scenarios or just simply in confined spaces. Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine are limited to close range with their primary attacks, and both only have one cooldown based medium ranged ability. Boba Fett does have an EE3 Boba edition and may not necessarily be the best close combat master, but he still works best from a secured vantage point and not sitting out in the open. He can also be very effective up close with a wrist rocket stun and flamethrower combination to the face. Together they make the ultimate trap, creeping out from the shadows, waiting to lure you in and strike. Based on their combined abilities, they are much better off playing defensively and positioning themselves in secured locations that is difficult to penetrate. If done correctly, then it can have the same effect as Leia's shield, making heroes very vulnerable when they're attempting to attack. Some great examples of places to prepare and engage with the enemies are in the caves of the Gozan Badlands, the dark shadowy paths of the Raider camp, and deep within the hills near your spawn on the new Hoth map. All of these locations once again give your team the advantage by playing to your strengths of being strong in close quarters and forcing the enemy to be very vulnerable and in a dangerous situation when they come in and attempt to attack. They also offer lots of dark shadows to sneak around, cover to avoid blaster fire, and escape routes on multiple sides. Everyone should be positioning themselves in their most effective ranges and preparing for their oncoming attack. Ideally, you want Vader up front reflecting blaster fire with his lightsaber, throwing out that lightsaber to get hits at distance, and then choking any of the honor guards that run in for the rocket launcher kills. Palpatine will be right behind him, dropping that health to keep him topped up, and using his long-range chain lightning attack to assist with offensive support when he can. Boba Fett, on the other hand, has two options. He can position himself up high in a vantage point near his team, raining hell down upon the enemy as they approach, or he can start the match by going off first and trying to pick off some enemies from a distance and stopping them from leaving the shield. It's very important that Boba Fett does not overextend and get himself killed, and that Vader and Palpatine do not separate from each other and run off by themselves. In my opinion, the villains are also best at using each other as distractions. Both Vader and Palpatine can block, while Boba Fett easily flies away. You should always be taking the chance to attack your enemies from behind as they're going after your team. Infantry players in Heroes vs. Villains have two separate roles. The first is to play aggressively, flanking the enemy team, catching their heroes off guard, and putting out as much damage as possible by using heavy-hitting weapons. The second is to play defensively and provide support to your heroes or villains on your team by putting out as much damage as possible while they are engaging with the enemy so that they can win the fight and recover. When attacking heroes or villains as infantry, make sure not to bunch up, as you don't want to be tripping over each other and giving the enemy easy multiple kills. Most heroes and villains are not very effective at taking on multiple opponents from all different directions, so positioning yourself in a way that you know that they won't be facing when you start fighting is a very solid plan. Infantry are just simply way too fragile to sit there and directly fight an opponent. You need to be like a bee, floating around, stinging when they least expect it. The best loadout for infantry is going to be one that lends the most offensive support. I always use the scout trait so I can sneak around, catch people off guard. This is especially important for fighting heroes or villains. I don't see any other trait as being anywhere near as beneficial, as you usually don't live long enough to obtain the higher ranks. You also should have a jetpack for quickly making your way into battle or escaping death to fight another day. You also can use it to position yourself in places where they cannot easily kill you. Like I mentioned before, you want to be in a spot where they are not looking so you can do as much damage as possible before being taken out. This is similar to how you play Boba Fett. For charge cards, I normally use Explosive Shot. It simply gives me the most offensive power right now, and nothing else seems to come close. The same thing can be said for my last card, which is usually the Pulse Cannon. The amount of sheer damage that a full charge shot can do isn't comparable to anything else. However, in the future, this might change due to DICE's trigger-happy nerfing, so if that happens, then all you have to do is this. Think about what is going to give you the most damage, and that's pretty much it. Choosing your blaster can be a little bit trickier, as it's going to not only depend on your playstyle, but also the map and what team you are on. Like I said before, on the hero team, you are primarily fighting at a little bit longer ranges, so using something like the EE3 or A2 ADC, which work well with explosive shot, especially at that range, is a very good bet. If playing on the villain team and fighting in close quarters combat, then I would consider the SE14C or DH17. However, with the recent nerfs to the SE14C and EE3 when using explosive shot, I often find myself always using the A2 ADC in Heroes vs Villains, as it puts out 27 shots before overheating. So while your short-term burst may be lower than some other weapons, your overall damage can be much higher if you put out all 27 rounds with explosive shot active. And if you want more information on these blasters and how to use them, be sure to check out my other videos. I do have reviews on each and every one of them. Then of course, when playing as infantry, always try to be using the hero guards as much as possible. They have much more health, higher damage output, and come with some very powerful explosives, and spawns you directly on the hero or villain. One effective strategy when you know that you won't be a hero is to wait a few moments until after the round starts and then spawn directly into a hero guard. That way you are guaranteed to last longer, put out a lot more damage, and be just much more effective overall in that first engagement, which is often the most important. Other than that, there are still a few things that you need to know. Each hero and villain comes with their own abilities, unique quirks, and best playstyles. I have videos on how to not suck with each hero or villain, and you should be looking at those as it's going to be your next step in the right direction. Then after that, be sure to check back for some of my hero duel videos that are coming out very soon. They're going to go into detail on exactly what abilities to use, how to use them, when to use them, so you can win the duels versus other heroes and villains. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this if it helped you, subscribe if you want more videos like this to come, and donate to keep the channel going. I appreciate it very much. Look forward to lots more great content, but until then, as always, may the Otaku be with you.